Welcome to LSC. It's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Sean Holleran, former soccer player at Kecoughtan High School. Welcome.
Thank you for
Glad
having me.
to have you here today.
Excited.
We're going to talk about growing up in Hampton, but you didn't go to the Hampton schools until you got into 8th grade.
I did.
Where did you go to school?
I attended St. Mary's Star of the Sea School down in Phoebus, 1st through 8th grade. My mom was the librarian there, and so she kept me close to her, and so I stayed there.
Was there a reason for that?
Well, yes and no. So
I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, you don't have to. Don't worry. It was just an opportunity to get a different education. I could have gone to Booker Elementary School, but my mom, since she worked there, travel and everything like that, she decided to take me there. So I stayed there until about 8th grade.
Well, and I would imagine that the classes is much smaller there, more individual
much
attention.
Smaller, probably 18 to 1, 15 to 1. A small class size was definitely a benefit of it, and then more one-on-one attention. So it was a good experience.
But they didn't have sports.
Didn't have sports. They didn't have any sports that were sort of competing against other schools. It was always an in-school kind of competition.
Intramural type of thing.
Yes, sir.
All right, but you started playing soccer at a real young age.
Yeah, about 5 years old. I started over Fort Monroe. Had the opportunity to play in the Parks and Rec program over there. About 7 or 8 years old, I got into what is now would be called the travel program. It was called Select Soccer back then. I started working at a Hampton team. We traveled all around Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Richmond. Nowadays, the comparison now is travel soccer has gotten to the point where parents can spend $2,000 to $3,000 a season.
See, that's what just blows my mind, because they're going somewhere every weekend.
Every weekend, they're going in-state, they're going out-of-state. If you make the highest level teams, an academy team, for example, for the rush soccer, you could travel to Dallas one weekend. You could come back and go to a showcase in North Carolina. You could go to a showcase in New York State. So, and you always travel overseas at least once during a season. So, the cost now is so much different. Yes, that's why soccer is such economically such a challenging sport for a lot of individuals and families, particularly in Hampton.
So, but when you had one big trip a year, right?
One big trip a year. We would go up to New Jersey, and that was the be all. We'd go up to Trenton, New Jersey, and it would be the most exciting thing ever. So we're down to Dolly Route, and when I played, we would do housing where the kids would be put up by other teams' families.
Okay.
So I would go and say, for example, a team
like host family.
Host family, exactly. So we'd go, and so that was an unusual experience, depending on where we were in the country. So it was always a good experience.
And then you also started swimming at a young age.
Yeah, I grew up right across from the Will Oaks pool. Started swimming for the Will Oaks Stingrays when I was 6. Swam all the way through high school until I was 18 years of age, and had an opportunity to just enjoy that every summer. So that was my babysitter, my living babysitter.
Right. All right. Now we're going to talk a little bit about, when I talk to kids about playing football and basketball, baseball, there's a lot of carryover skills.
Yeah.
But you're swimming and soccer, there's got to be some carryover.
There is. Cardiovascular, your cardio has got to be up there, as well as your flexibility. In swimming, you use almost every muscle in your body, as well as in soccer. We've got the lateral movements. We've got the jumping up and down. Most importantly is just that cardio. You've got to be in shape. Soccer is 90 minutes of a game, and so swimming is a short burst. But still, if you don't have the cardio built up, then that's where you're gonna have a deficit. So,
so there was some carryover skills that you could use.
Definitely so.
Now, then you decided you talked to your mom and says, "Well, I want to go to Kecoughtan and I want to play for Kelly."
Yeah, Kelly Alford was the Kecoughtan High School coach in the mid-'80s. Phenomenal soccer coach, still works at HRA and coaches the HRA boys team. He actually trained me in being a goalkeeper when I was young. And so I went to my mom and my dad and sort of begged them over the summer of my 8th grade year, because it was Kecoughtan or Peninsula Catholic. And luckily, I think I got them convinced, and they sent me over to Kecoughtan. Unfortunately, as soon as I got there, Kelly Alford decided he was going to resign, and Alan Lindsay took over.
Which is not a bad
trade-off.
Right.
Not a bad trade-off at all. So
now you played soccer and swam all through high school, all 4 years.
All 4 years, yes.
Was you always a goalie, even in?
Well, my first 3 years, freshman through junior year, I played in the goal. We did very well. My senior year, we had a backup goalkeeper by the name of Sean Harrington, who was talented young man, and he had actually ended up getting a full scholarship to Virginia Military Institute, playing one season. So he played his senior year, I played in the field. I played as a forward, and he ended up getting his scholarship, and I ended up getting mine, and we ended up going undefeated. So it worked out well for everybody all around. Made Alan Lindsay look like a genius.
Well, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit because Kecoughtan always, they were the #1 in soccer because they started soccer before the other high schools
Yes,
did.
sir.
And they just kind of set the tone. If you want to be, you're going to have to get to our level. You're going to have to work at it.
Yeah, I think I was the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th year of about a 9-10 year run of district titles for Kecoughtan.
Right.
We had just the foundation, like you said, was there. It started in the 70s with Alan Lindsay's actually father started the program. Alan played. He came back and he coached. Yeah, we went undefeated all 4 years I was there. We played my freshman year. We actually beat Lafayette in a playoff game at Todd Stadium to win the district title, but that was the closest sort of anybody came to us. Wow. No offense to anybody else, but we sort of dominated the Peninsula District and, for those 4 years, and then the 4 years after I graduated, Alan and his teams won the district title as well.
Okay. Now we're talking about swimming too, because now you're swimming during this while you're playing soccer. I mean, not the same time, but what'd you do in swimming?
Well, swimming, I would do freestyle and mainly backstroke. I wasn't as committed, because soccer was my primary focus, but to stay in shape in the off season, so to speak, I swam, and a majority of my friends swam, and so I would do backstroke. I would do the 100-meter backstroke. I would swim backstroke on the relays, the medley relays. And I would sort of I'd be put in the swimming spot where nobody else wanted to swim at the long distance stuff. I would, coach would use me.
You had the endurance,
the conditioning,
right?
the endurance. So I would do that, but it was a great experience. I got to swim with some talented swimmers. Kurt Jakimowski swam his freshman and sophomore year, were my last 2 years, my junior, senior year there. He went on to Auburn University on a full scholarship and actually missed the Olympics by 0.8 of a second. So, but he won a national title at Auburn as a 200 individual medley. So it was a good experience to swim with him and some of my other friends.
So the two sports really you did well at, both of them at the high school level. So you go back and say, Mom and Dad, look at
Yeah, exactly. I bragged and I said, I told you so.
And when you were a senior, Kurt Newsom comes over to you.
I was
football coach.
Yeah, Coach Newsom was just sort of getting things going, and one of my good friends was Brian Reeves, was the kicker there, and he graduated, went on to Virginia Tech and played at Virginia Tech, kicked for Virginia Tech. I was just out actually holding for my friend who was going to be the kicker the next year, and I was kicking and he would kick, and Coach Newsom was out lining the field for August practice, sort of looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, well, I'm just holding, I'm kicking every once in a while. He goes, "Why don't you come out and kick anyway? Why don't you come kick? You're a good soccer player. You can come kick the ball for me." I said, "Okay." I ended up being the kickoff specialist my senior year.
Okay, but what is kind of unique is you were the first one to kick off in the brand new Darling Stadium.
Yes, sir. I kicked off to Cal Key. If he's out there, thank you very much, Cal. We're famous. I kicked off down to the 7-yard line to Cal, and he caught it, came back about 15 yards, and off we went with Darling Stadium. So it was a great experience. All the pomp and circumstance of opening a new stadium, sort of was lost on us. We were just really excited to get at Hampton and try to beat them because we thought we had a good chance. And unfortunately, they beat us 28-20. I think the score was, but it was a great game. It was.
Well, that's got to be a great experience for something, because it's a different kind of a sport.
Very different.
And a different kind of athletes than the slim, little
soccer
players.
We're buff. We can soccer players. No, but it definitely was. Just the way to see the different type of coaching style football coaches have. Coach Newsom just motivationally was probably the most phenomenal coach I've had in soccer, swimming, or any sport that I've played. He just, the way in which he could get us prepared for a game and motivate us specifically. I mean, he could pick one person out and specifically tell that individual what they needed to do in the game for the rest of the team to be successful. I mean, and so that person was energized, and it just sort of spread throughout the locker room. So that was a great experience.
And a lot of people don't realize how much inspiration a coach can bring and to one individual, and it'll affect the rest of the team.
It does. It was a ripple effect. Like you always say, you throw a stone in the water and you see the ripples. Coach Newsom had that way just to sort of impact everybody with one chat.
All right, now you graduate. You're going to go to college.
Yeah.
Oh, knock, knock, here comes William and Mary.
Yeah, Coach Albert, long-standing coach at College of William and Mary, called me my senior year. said, hey, send me your transcripts. Very interested in bringing you up and having you possibly, have a spot on the team, work your way towards a scholarship. And I said, yes, sir. Very excited. So I got my transcripts together and sent those on the way. And after the season was over, Coach Lindsey Allen pulled me out into the hallway, said, I got some good news, I got some bad news for you. I said, really, what you got? He goes, well, the good news is you're graduating. I said, thanks,
well, that's always good news.
I kind of knew that, Alan. He said, but the bad news is you're not going to William & Mary because your grades aren't good enough. And so that was sort of you take the air out of your senior year.
Wow,
you're getting ready to graduate. You have a coach that is well respected, not only locally but nationally, call and say, hey, I want you to be a part of my program. And I just didn't meet the academic requirements to get into a school like William & Mary.
But you ended up going somewhere else.
I did. Coach Albert actually was kind enough to pass my name along to a couple coaches. A school called Mount St. Mary's, which is now Mount St. Mary's University in Northern Maryland, called. Sort of sight unseen, took Coach Albert at his word, brought me up, and gave me a tour of the school and offered me a scholarship to come and play up there in a small Division I school in Maryland.
Right. Now, were you a goalie? Is that what you had?
I was a goalie. I went up. I played goalie my freshman year in particular. We did well. We got to our conference semifinals. We lost in overtime. My sophomore and junior year, I sort of split time between goalie and playing in the field,
right?
Because we had some injuries on the team, and because I could contribute one way or the other. The coach at my college decided to give me the opportunity to play both. My senior year, I sort of hurt my knee. Everything sort of caught up to me. Right. They had some changes in the program where they decided to sort of rebuild and go young, and so after a couple injuries to some of the seniors, we sort of sat back, and that's where my coaching sort of started, because I had the opportunity while I was hurt to coach the younger goalkeeper that would be taking my place.
So, and this kind of, in your mind, kind of set the seed for coaching later on, didn't it?
It did. I had such a good experience with both Coach Alford and Coach Lindsey through soccer. It was one of those things where it was a passion for me. I couldn't imagine myself from playing from 5 years old not continue doing something with soccer. I knew I couldn't play professionally. I just wasn't at that level.
Right.
And in the United States at that time, a contract for a soccer player was like $500 every 2 weeks, and so you're not surviving on $1,000 living anywhere.
No, that's true.
So I decided, I need to some way get back into coaching somehow when I graduated.
Right. Did you model your game after anybody in particular, or?
Not.
I mean,
really.
like in football, they'll watch a quarterback or the running back, or in basketball, the same thing. And I just said, in soccer, was there somebody that you looked at when you watched the soccer games?
Yeah, well, soccer-wise, for the United States at that time was to be bluntly honest, weak.
Right.
And so the European teams were the teams there. The teams like Manchester United, AC Milan, Real Madrid, they all had phenomenal players. But in terms of a motivator for me, it was always one of the players that came before me at Kickingham. There was a goalkeeper by the name of Bill Hollingsworth that played when I was in 8th grade. He was a junior, and I would go watch every home game, and so he's who I modeled my my style after. And some other goalkeepers that I played against from Virginia Beach that were on the state teams with me, we always sort of challenged each other, and I would steal the good pieces from everybody.
Right. Well, and that's how you improved yourself. And you got your degree in English.
Yes, sir.
And then you come back, and Johnny Pauls gets you over there to help with the soccer program.
Yeah, he asked me to come over and coach the junior varsity team. Coach Mr. Leonard Thomas was the athletics director. Right. Sort of knew me. I was back in town. I started doing some substitute teaching while I was finishing up my education courses. And he gave me an opportunity to come in and coach. And I also was the assistant coach of the swimming team during the year and a half that I was there. And while I was there, some teachers were out, so I got to do some long-term subbing. And so I said, hey, I could do both of these. I could teach, and then I can coach, and I don't have to live with my mom anymore. So I could get out of the house. But as much as my mom and dad loved me, I know they wanted me out eventually. So,
we changed the locks on the door.
They did.
You graduate, all of a sudden your key doesn't work anymore.
Exactly. So you've met my mom and dad. That's good. So I started that, and then after my first year, I kicked in. I had an opportunity to go up to Gloucester and take over the varsity coaching position at Gloucester.
And met some guys from Bethel High School and one from Hampton High. We're talking about the Incremeniuses and Draw Kroom. Went up there for 2 years and coached.
And Troy Fullwood was a Bethel grad that he and I.
So they were up there while you were working, and you had to be under supervision for 2 years to get your degree, right?
Yes, because I didn't take the traditional route. I sort of had the English degree and took some education courses. And I went and they offered me a 7th grade English position, teaching reading and writing, and so I had to do a 2-year supervised sort of tenure provisional status. After those 2 years, my principal sort of wrote a letter to the Virginia Department of Education. Everything went through, and I got my license to be a full-time teacher, and I spent some time
but also, you coached at Kecoughtan for 2 or 3 years.
3 years.
And then you also coached some at CNU.
Yeah, I had the opportunity. Kwame Lloyd was hired as the Christopher Newport University women's coach in the late 90s, early aughts, and so he needed an assistant coach, and we sort of got paired up together, and I had a specific talent as a goalkeeper, so he needed a goalkeeper coach, and so we worked together for about 2 years. I was on the staff full time, and then a year or two as a consultant as I started going back to school to get some more education. And it was a great experience because high school is one thing, but when you're working at the collegiate level, it's you're doing the travel. It's like the Bull Durham. You're riding a bus to and from everywhere, and you realize how nice it was when you could do some other things. But that was a great experience working with the ladies program there, and sort of started to sort of trend where he and the ladies program were recognized nationally for 4 or 5 years. In his time at CNU, so it was a great opportunity.
Oh, and you end up with a couple of master's degrees.
Yeah, I went back, and one of the passions that I have in education is working with special education students. While I was in Gloucester, I had the opportunity to be right next door to the intellectually disabled classroom, and some students in that room sort of motivated me to go back, and so I actually ended up going back to the College of William & Mary, got into a program there as a master's, and got my master's in special education and curriculum and instruction. As I finished that degree, Hampton City Schools opened up a cohort for administrative leadership out of ODU, and so I sort of rolled from one into another. And so I went for about 4.5 years of grad school and came out with 2 master's degrees, which I survived, is what I like to say.
It's kind of ironic. You wanted to go to William & Mary, didn't make it there.
Exactly.
Undergrad, but go back and get your master's. That's quite a coup for you.
It was a humbling experience because academically, William & Mary is along with the University of Virginia here and the University of Richmond are probably the gold bearer standards in terms of academics, and so it was a challenging thing. I'm not sure if I would have survived. I'll be honest with you. So it was good that I got to go back a little later when I was a little more mature and be able to handle those academics.
Because we're going to wrap this thing up, and that's exactly what we want to talk about, because I want to make sure your mama's happy.
Yes.
Because she said for you to tell the truth.
That's right.
But I want you to explain why academics are so important, because we could see here you had a chance to go to a big school and end up going to a nice school. I'm not, I'm like St. Mary's is not a bad school, but it's not the same caliber as William & Mary.
No, it's not, and that's what, and that was the other thing that I had to do as a teacher and as a coach is just communicate. Every academic opportunity you have can make a difference. And my chemistry and algebra 2 grades my junior year kept me out of William & Mary. It wasn't something I thought of. I didn't think it would impact my life. I figured, it's okay. I'll get over it. My athletics will get me where I need to be. That's not the case. And what I tell every player and every student that I have is your academics is going to decide your paycheck. Your academics decides where you go in life. So once you get out of high school, you've got to go to some school. If it's a trade school, it's a vocational school. If it's a 4-year or 2-year program, you've got to get into a school because academics is going to get you to a place where you can do the things you want to do. And I always tell the story where I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. I still had a great college experience, but I didn't have the experience that I could have had because academically I just didn't put forth the effort.
Appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate it.
I want to thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Sean Holleran. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Until next time.